Let's talk a little bit about infrastructure as code and automation. So now you should have your Jenkins setup. We did an example app, like we created a new job. This way is how most people use Jenkins. They manually just create jobs for every project they have, and then they build them, and then they deploy the application. What I'm going to show you is that there's another way by using the DevOps principles, infrastructure as code, and automation. Jenkins allows you to use a web UI, the web UI we have been using, to input all the build parameters, like npm install, maven build, sbt build, and so on, depending on your project, and the language your project has been written in. This leads to no proper audit trail. If something goes wrong, how do you know who made the changes? There's also no easy history of changes. How do you know someone changed the parameter of a job? There is a segregation between Jenkins admins and developers. Users, often developers, will have to contact a Jenkins administrator to make changes. You often then have long lead times for changes. A developer wants something changed and he doesn't really have the access for it, and he needs to ask an administrator. It's also difficult to backup and restore. How do you restore just one setting how it was the day before? I'm not saying that if you use the web UI, you will have all these problems, but those are typical problems that you can have by entering everything manually. There are solutions for this problem. There are many solutions. I will just show you one solution, and the rest of the course is based on this one solution. The solution, I think, is to completely write jobs as code and save it in version control. Version control, like Git, Subversion, Mercurial, gives you a history and an audit trail. It's easy to roll back to older versions of jobs and build instructions. It allows operations to give more control to the developers. Developers can bundle the Jenkins build instructions with their own project repository. For instance, they can have a Jenkins file in their project directory, so they can make changes to the build parameters themselves. You'll have a history, an audit trail, you can easily do rollbacks. This is what a company that wants to embrace DevOps should do. Allow developers to control their own builds. Just one note about version control. If you're not really familiar with version control, have a look at the other course that I already mentioned a few times. Learn DevOps, continuously deliver better software, explains version control and Git. So if you're not familiar with that, you want to catch up on that. In the next sections, I'll cover 2 Jenkins capabilities to enable Jenkins to be a true DevOps tool within your software organization. I will show you how to use Jenkins Job DSL to write code that creates and modifies Jenkins jobs automatically, and the Jenkins pipeline, which is the Jenkins file I was talking about. It's used to bundle the build parameters within the project. So the npm install, the npm clean, docker build, docker publish I was talking about, those are the build parameters, the build instructions that you can bundle within the project in a Jenkins file. This will allow developers to change Jenkins build parameters themselves, and it enables audit trail, history, rollbacks using version control.